The room was quiet, the kind of quiet that didn't feel peaceful, just final. Colonel Thomas Ray lay still in a hospital bed draped in pale white sheets, the light from the window casting long shadows on the tile floor. His breathing came slow and uneven. Machines hummed around him, but he wasn't listening anymore. Beside the bed sat Ace, a Belgian Malinois, black and tan with battle-worn fur and amber eyes that hadn't blinked in minutes. He watched his handler, not like a pet, but like a soldier watching his commanding officer. Ace had served beside Colonel Ray for 7 years. 3 deployments, countless missions, more saves than anyone had ever recorded. But none of that mattered now. Ray turned his head slightly, pain etched into every movement. His voice was a whisper, thin but steady. "Ace, come here, boy." Ace rose instantly and rested his chin gently on the edge of the bed. Ray reached out, his hand trembling, and brushed his fingers through the dog's fur. A single tear slid down his weathered cheek. "He's out there, my son." Pause. A swallow. "Never met him. Not once. Not even a photo. I kept him safe by staying away. But now, I need you to do what I can't." He closed his eyes, gathering his last strength. "Find him. Watch over him. Protect him like you protected me." Ace didn't move, but his body leaned in as if to say, "I heard you. This is your final command, soldier." And then, silence. The colonel's hand fell still. The machines kept humming. But Ace knew what that sound meant. He let out a soft whimper, then stepped back from the bed. Not out of fear, not confusion, but purpose, because now the mission had begun. The morning after the colonel's passing, the base was silent. Flags at half-mast. Officers moving slow, speaking in hushed tones. But one shadow moved with purpose. Ace, no handler. No, just a military tag clipped to his collar. Scratched and worn, marked with Ace, Unit 34, clearance active. Most didn't try to stop him. Those who knew Colonel Ray knew better. Ace made his way to the colonel's private quarters. The door had been sealed, but he nudged it open with his nose. Inside, dust, silence, scent. He scanned the room like a soldier scanning for explosives. But he wasn't looking for threats. He was looking for a trail. On the desk, an old locked briefcase. Ace jumped up, his paw hitting the corner just right. The latch snapped open. Inside, a photo, torn at the edges, a young woman holding a newborn. A worn envelope with a name scribbled in Ray's handwriting. Nathaniel Parker. Ace stared at the image, then pressed his nose against it. That was all he needed. The scent, the name, a direction. He nudged the envelope into his vest pouch, then turned to leave, pausing only once at the door. Behind him, the colonel's medals shimmered in a strip of morning light. But Ace didn't look back. Because he didn't serve for glory. He served for order, and now, he had one final mission to complete. The bus screeched to a halt in the middle of a dusty rural station. Passengers filed out. Suitcases dragged. Phones buzzed. No one noticed the dog. Ace stepped off last. He didn't need a leash. He didn't need permission. He had purpose. Attached to his vest was the torn envelope. Inside, the last name of a stranger. Nathaniel Parker, Columbia Ridge, Georgia. The address was outdated, scribbled in a shaking hand. But Ace knew how to follow a scent longer than memory itself. He moved through back streets, alleys, community parks, avoiding people, watching faces, sniffing air currents like chapters in a book. Then he stopped. A faint trace in the wind. The scent on the photo. Someone had passed this way. He turned. There it was, a small mechanic's shop. Rusty sign above, Parker's Auto and Body. Ace stepped into the lot, keeping low. Grease, oil, metal, coffee, and the scent older now, stronger, worn by time. Then footsteps. A man stepped out from the garage, late 20s, oil-stained jeans, cap pulled low, tough hands, quiet eyes. He lit a cigarette and looked out toward the street. Ace didn't move. This was him, Nathaniel, Colonel Ray's son. But Ace didn't approach. Not yet. Because there was something else in the air. Danger. Someone else was watching, from across the street. Black car, windows tinted. Ace locked eyes with the shape behind the glass. Whoever they weren't here to fix cars. And this mission just got more complicated. Ace didn't bark, didn't growl, didn't blink. He just stared at the black car parked across the street. Tires clean, engine running, tinted windows, too dark for this neighborhood. Inside, a silhouette sat motionless. But Ace could feel it, the kind of stillness that doesn't come from peace. It comes from waiting. He turned back to Nathaniel. The young man was wiping grease off his hands, now on a phone call, unaware. Ace took a few steps forward, then stopped. The car door clicked open. From the corner of the block, a figure emerged. Black boots, leather gloves, no badge, no tools, just purpose. Ace's body tensed, every instinct sharpened like a blade. The figure crossed the street, walking toward the garage. Not too fast, not too casual. And Ace moved, not toward the man, but between him and Nathaniel. Just close enough to intercept. The man stopped, looked down. A small smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Well, would you look at that?" he muttered. Nathaniel turned confused, saw the dog, saw the stranger, saw something wasn't right. "Can I help you?" Nathaniel called out. The man glanced up, just admiring your pet. Nathaniel shook his head. "He's not mine." The man locked eyes with Ace again. Pity. And just like that, he turned and walked off. Back into the car, back into the dark. But Ace didn't relax. Not yet, because that wasn't a goodbye. That was a test. And Ace knew something Nathaniel didn't. The boy was being hunted. And this mission had just shifted from search to shield. The garage lights buzzed overhead. Oil dripped somewhere in the back. Nathaniel leaned against the wall, arms crossed, staring at the dog sitting at the edge of the lot. Ace hadn't moved in 10 minutes, didn't whine, didn't pant, just watched him quiet, measured still. "You lost, buddy." Nathaniel finally muttered. Ace blinked. Not lost. Locked in. Nathaniel stepped closer, one hand half raised. "Easy now." Ace didn't growl, didn't back away. Just stayed. The same position he used when guarding Ray's bunk at night. Back straight, muscles low, eyes unblinking. Nathaniel looked around. No human, just that old military vest, and something stuffed inside. He crouched slowly and reached out. Ace didn't stop him. Nathaniel pulled the folded envelope from the pouch, frowned, unfolded it. His name, in handwriting he'd never seen. Inside, a single photo, faded. A soldier in uniform, smiling faintly beside a newborn. No name, no caption, just truth. Nathaniel stared, then looked at the dog. You came from him." Ace stayed silent, but something in his eyes shifted. Recognition, as if saying, "I was sent for you." Nathaniel shook his head. "This is insane." He stood, walked in a slow circle, gripping the photo, then turned back. The dog hadn't moved, still watching, still waiting. Nathaniel exhaled. "All right, you can stay. Just stay out of my toolbox." Ace didn't wag, didn't smile, just stood and walked calmly inside, behind him. Because this wasn't friendship, it was protocol. Protect the objective, stay close, observe, and if necessary, intervene. It had only been 3 days since Ace walked into Nathaniel's life. and already, things felt off. The garage felt quieter, the neighborhood felt watched, and Nathaniel had started locking the back door. Twice. Ace never barked, but he always knew. He paced near the windows at night, watched the alley behind the shop, listened to footsteps that didn't belong. Nathaniel caught him one evening, standing completely still in the middle of the garage, ears high, nose twitching. "Something out there?" he asked, half joking. Ace didn't respond, didn't move. Nathaniel followed his gaze to the far corner of the lot. Trash cans, a broken fence, the shadows beyond, nothing there. But Ace stayed frozen, eyes locked on the dark. The next morning, Nathaniel found the back gate open, not broken, unlatched. His tools had been moved, nothing stolen, but everything touched. He looked at Ace. "You saw this, didn't you?" Ace blinked. Nathaniel took the old photo from the envelope and looked at it again. His hands shook now. Something was going on, something bigger than he wanted to admit. And this dog, this soldier wasn't here by accident. He was here because someone else wasn't supposed to be. Later that night, Ace sat by the shop's front door, still and alert. And across the street, that black car was back. Same tinted windows, same silent engine, different driver. Ace narrowed his eyes. This wasn't surveillance, it was a countdown, and time was running out. It was 3:17 a.m. The world outside was silent. No cars, no wind, just the hum of a distant street lamp buzzing like a warning. Inside the garage, Nathaniel slept in the office chair, feet kicked up on the desk, an old army blanket wrapped around his shoulders. Ace didn't sleep. He never did, not fully. He sat in the shadows near the garage bay door, still, listening. Then, the sound. A click. Too sharp to be wind, too soft to be accidental. The side door handle moved. Once, then again. Ace rose without a sound. No bark, no panic. Position. Assess. Prepare. The door creaked open. A silhouette slipped in. Tall, gloved, silent. Another behind him. Black boots. No voices. Professional. They didn't see Ace. Not yet. One moved toward the workbench. The other stepped into the office. Nathaniel stirred. The man reached into his jacket. And then, Ace moved. Fast. Precise. A low growl slicing through the silence like a blade. The first man turned just in time to see a blur of fur and fury slam into his chest. They crashed into the tool rack, metal clattering across the concrete. Nathaniel sat up, heart pounding, confused, panicked. What? The second intruder turned to run. Too late. Ace launched again, cutting him off. Pinned, teeth bared, amber eyes locked. One of the men reached for something. A flash of silver. Ace bit down. Not to kill, to disable. Calculated, controlled, efficient. By the time the sirens echoed in the distance, both men were on the ground, moaning, broken, humiliated. Nathaniel stood frozen, chest heaving, adrenaline roaring, looking down at the dog now calmly sitting between the two attackers. He whispered, "You were never just a dog, were you?" Ace turned toward him. No wag, no sound, just a look. Mission engaged, threat neutralized. Protective protocol, active. The garage was taped off. Police cars outside. Two men in cuffs, and one silent witness sitting by the door. Ace. Nathaniel gave his statement, half true, half confused. Because how do you explain a dog defending your life, without ever being told to? Back inside, the chaos had quieted. Nathaniel sat alone on the floor, Ace beside him. He held the envelope again. The one with the name, the one with the photo. He opened it for the 100th time. But this time, he noticed something different. A flap in the inner lining. A second slit. He tore gently, and there it was. A letter, yellowed, creased, and addressed to my son. In case I never get the chance to explain. Nathaniel's hands trembled. He unfolded it, and read, "I stayed away not because I didn't care. I stayed away to protect you. My life was war, and war breaks the things it touches. But I always kept something with me, a photo, a reminder that something good existed beyond the uniform. I knew my time would run out, that I wouldn't get to say what mattered. So I'm saying it now. This dog, Ace, has saved more lives than I can count, including mine, and now, I trust him with yours." Nathaniel stopped reading. His throat closed up. He looked down at Ace, who was already watching him. Quiet. Still. Nathaniel didn't speak. He just leaned back against the wall, and Ace leaned with him. They sat like that for a long time, the letter resting between them, like a bridge from one life to another. 5 years earlier, Afghanistan, Sector 7. The desert wasn't quiet. It just screamed in different ways. Colonel Thomas Ray stepped out of the tent, gear strapped tight, his eyes scanning the horizon. Beside him, a younger Ace, sleek, sharp, controlled, still new to the fire, still learning what silence meant. They were between missions, waiting for orders that always came late, and casualties that came early. Ace sat near a broken Humvee, watching his handler assemble a field map. "Let's hope it's just a patrol," Ray muttered, mostly to himself. Ace tilted his head. Ray looked at him, almost smiled. "You know what I envy about you," he said. "You don't ask questions, you just go." Ace blinked, but didn't look away. That night, the mission came. Convoy escort, standard route, same dust, same risk. Halfway through the canyon pass, detonation. The Humvee flipped, fire tore through metal. Ray was thrown from the wreckage, blood in his eyes, ears ringing, everything sideways. Then, Ace, burned paws, bleeding side, dragging Ray from the flames 1 inch at a time. Gunfire echoed, screams behind them, but Ace didn't stop, didn't wait, got Ray behind cover, laid on top of him, chest heaving, eyes wide, still alert. When the evac team found them, Ray's vitals were fading, but Ace never moved. The medic asked, "Why the hell is this dog still on top of him?" One of the squad guys answered, "He thinks he's still shielding him." Ray would never forget that moment, when life and death stood side by side, and only one heartbeat kept him breathing. From that day forward, he never gave Ace a command. He just looked at him, and Ace already knew. Nathaniel tried to return to normal. The shop reopened. The tools were reorganized. The door was reinforced. But nothing felt the same. He'd catch himself looking over his shoulder, listening too long to footsteps, locking the garage even when he was inside it. And through it all, Ace watched. He never slept deeply, never ate until Nathaniel did, never barked unless it was real. He patrolled the perimeter of the building 3 times a night, checked doors, paused at corners, stared into the dark for minutes at a time. Nathaniel noticed. "You still think they'll come back?" Ace didn't move, didn't answer. But when Nathaniel shut off the lights that night, he found Ace already lying by the front door, waiting. The next morning a letter arrived. No return address. Typed, folded once. Nathaniel opened it slowly. "You were warned, but you chose to keep the dog. That's your final mistake." His stomach sank. He read it twice, then looked at Ace, who was already staring at the window. They didn't have time anymore. This wasn't about the past. This was about control. Power. Secrets Ray had once known, that now lived on through Ace. Nathaniel sat down hard. "What were you two part of?" he whispered. Ace didn't blink, because the answer wasn't in the letter. It was in the mission, and the mission wasn't over. Not yet. Nathaniel sat in the back office, the letter still clutched in his hand. Ace paced the room slowly, his movements methodical, almost clinical, as if he already knew what was coming, as if he'd done this before. Nathaniel opened his laptop, typed, "Colonel Thomas Ray, classified operations." Most of the search results were redacted, blacked out lines, dead-end files. But one document slipped through. A declassified internal memo titled, "Operation Sentinel, Tier 2 Cognitive Integration, Handler K9 Neural Protocols." Nathaniel blinked. He read aloud. "Subjects identified as Tier 2 units, demonstrated extreme memory retention, emotional association encoding, and multi-stage response intelligence beyond known K9 operational standards." He looked at Ace. "You were part of this." Ace sat down, straight, still, watching. Nathaniel kept reading. "Operation closed following loss of Unit 34 handler, due to blast trauma. Remaining K9 reassigned under temporary behavioral monitoring." Subject demonstrated unauthorized tracking behavior post-handler death. Nathaniel whispered, "That's you." You kept searching, even after he died. Ace didn't move. Nathaniel leaned forward, voice shaking. "You weren't just sent. You chose to come." Ace blinked. Once, and that was enough. Suddenly a memory hit Nathaniel like a storm. That night, the night of the break-in. One of the men had whispered something before Ace attacked. "This one's too old. He remembers too much." It wasn't about protecting Nathaniel. It was about containing Ace. He stood up. "We have to go. They're not done." Ace rose with him, already one step ahead. Because a soldier doesn't ask why, only where to next. They left before sunrise. Nathaniel didn't say goodbye, didn't turn off the lights, didn't lock the garage, because none of it mattered anymore. Ace sat in the passenger seat of the old truck, eyes scanning every mirror, every intersection, every shadow. They didn't drive fast. Fast draws attention. They drove smart. Side roads, back highways, gas stations only when empty. Nathaniel gripped the wheel tight. "We're being hunted, aren't we?" he said quietly. Ace didn't look at him, but his ears flicked once. Confirmation. By noon, Nathaniel pulled over to a forgotten roadside diner, parked in the back. Took a booth by the window. Ace sat under the table, eyes never closing. Nathaniel sipped coffee with shaking hands. "We can't keep running," a voice behind him answered. "You don't have to." He froze, turned. A woman stood beside the booth, late 40s, military posture, eyes like frost. She slid a badge onto the table. Tactical Animal Intelligence, retired. Nathaniel stared. "You're real?" She nodded. "I worked with your father. I helped train Ace." Ace stood now. Not hostile. Not calm. Alert. "Why are you here?" Nathaniel asked. She lowered her voice. "Because the people coming after you don't want to hurt you. They want to silence the last piece of the project." She looked at Ace, "And they're running out of time." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "So what do we do?" She looked between them. "Make his voice louder than they can ever bury." She handed him a flash drive. "Everything, every mission, every file, every cover-up. It's all here." Nathaniel took it, looked at Ace. "Then we show the world." Outside, 2 black cars pulled into the diner lot. Ace's growl was low, steady. Nathaniel stood. "This ends today." They raced down the old fire road toward the ridge. Wind howled through broken trees. Signal towers blinked like distant lighthouses. And between them, a crumbling satellite station from another era. Nathaniel slammed the brakes. The door swung open. Ace leapt out first, head low, stance focused. The retired officer pointed toward the building. "They'll jam every frequency once they know. You've got one chance to send it." Nathaniel grabbed the flash drive and ran. Inside, dust swirled through dead wires and cracked screens. A single control panel still blinked, barely alive. Ace stood by the door, growling at the wind. Nathaniel plugged in the drive. A loading bar crawled across the screen. 6%, 18%, 34%. Outside, engines. 2 black SUVs screeched into the clearing. Men in tactical gear spilled out. Ace didn't wait for orders. He bolted forward, one soldier against a storm. Inside, the broadcast began. Nathaniel's voice, shaky but defiant, filled the mic. "This is Nathaniel Parker. I am the son of Colonel Thomas Ray. And this," he looked at Ace through the window, "is the last soldier of Operation Sentinel." On-screen images, declassified footage, audio logs, training reports, memos with blacked-out names now uncovered. The truth spread like wildfire. Encrypted streams hit backup servers, military channels, civilian feeds. The world watched. Outside, Ace held the doorway. He didn't bark, didn't flinch. He moved like memory, like instinct, and when one of the agents aimed, Ace struck. Precise, powerful, unyielding. The team fell back, too late, because in up road complete. Nathaniel yanked the drive free and ran. Ace met him at the exit, blood on his fur, fire in his eyes. They disappeared into the trees as sirens wailed in the distance. But the world had already seen, and no one could unsee it. 2 weeks later, the media called it the Sentinel leak. News anchors replayed the footage. Papers ran front-page features with grainy images of Ace. One headline read, "The dog that remembered." But Nathaniel and Ace weren't watching. They were gone. Somewhere deep in the mountains, tucked inside an old ranger station with no cameras, no reception, and no names on the mailbox. Nathaniel poured a cup of coffee and leaned against the porch railing. Ace sat beside him, his coat duller now, his gait slower, but his eyes still sharp. They had won, but at a cost. The retired officer who helped them disappeared. No badge, no name, just silence, and the black cars stopped coming. Nathaniel looked down at Ace. "You okay?" Ace didn't respond, but he laid his head on Nathaniel's boot, and for the first time in days, Nathaniel exhaled. The world now knew the truth. Colonel Ray's legacy wasn't buried. It had a name, a face, and 4 paws. But Nathaniel knew something else too. Ace was tired. Not weak, not broken, just ready. Not for war, but for stillness. The kind that only comes after you've done everything you were asked to do. And more. Spring returned quietly that year. The cabin stayed quiet. No reporters, no noise, only the sound of wind moving through tall pines. Ace spent his days on the porch, watching, guarding, even when there was nothing left to guard. Nathaniel carved a new nameplate for the gate, Ray and Son, safe ground. One evening, as the sky turned gold and the last birds returned to their trees, Ace didn't rise from his spot. Nathaniel found him lying still, peaceful, warm. A folded American flag lay beside his body, placed there by hands unknown. Nathaniel knelt, ran a hand through his fur. No tears, just breath. Because what do you say to the one who carried you through fire? And then laid down quietly in peace. Weeks later, a small memorial was erected beside the cabin. A bronze sculpture. A man in uniform kneeling beside a Belgian Malinois. One hand resting gently on the dog's back. Beneath it, a simple inscription. He followed one last order and changed everything. In honor of Ace, Unit 34. Trained for war, died for love. Nathaniel still wakes early, still walks the ridge, still pauses at the hilltop every evening. Not to grieve, but to remember. Because the dog didn't just save him from danger, he saved him from being lost, and some missions never truly end.